Good afternoon. It's 5:30, February 2nd, 2026. We're here for the Committee of the Whole meeting. In compliance with the Open Meetings Act, a current copy of the act is available at this meeting. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Alarcon? Here. Barr?
Here.
Hemer?
Here.
Jablonski?
Here.
Lopez? Here. Polensky?
Here.
Roth?
Here.
Schilling?
Here.
Council President Hemer, the roll has been called.
So it looks like we have one item on the agenda, City of Columbus purchasing policy and procedures.
Good evening. City Administrator, Tara Bosticek. So the leadership team, the department heads, and I have been talking about the purchasing policy and the updates that have been needed to it for some time now. So we did not provide a red line version because you wouldn't have been able to make sense of it. There was so much redlining. So I can certainly ask questions or answer questions related to changes if you have them. But I did send it out early last week and got several comments from you all and incorporated most all of those. So the document you have in front of you is, I hope, a final draft. I'll go over the main changes to the purchasing policy. And just for your information, it was last updated in 2010. So 16 years ago. The purchasing policy, the first paragraphs I have up here, we expanded a little bit just to make it extra clear for all of our staff that things like splitting expenses for a project that should all be together is expressly prohibited. We do see that periodically, so we always want to make sure that if there is something happening, all expenses are allocated to that. We don't want to be dividing up expenses to get around requirements of the purchasing policy. So that's that second paragraph there. And then the third one is that really the previous purchasing policy didn't really appropriately address the contracts, so recurring contracts, maintenance contracts, service agreements, different things like that. So the definition section, really the only change there is that we added we expanded a little bit the position substitutions with the addition of the Director of General Services. And then we added this emergency definition. The last purchasing policy, there was a little bit of information about sole source purchasing and emergency purchases, but not to the level of detail that we really should have. So those are two substantial changes to the purchasing policy as well. The other major change is that the dollar thresholds are getting increased a little bit. So really the items requiring written quotes, 3 written quotes, is getting increased. So up to $25,000 is 3 written quotes. It was previously 10. And then it was previously 10 to 40 require bids. Now it's 25 to 75. This item 5 on the purchasing, this is state law. And actually, for your information, it's before the legislature this session that this 30,000 gets increased to 90. I didn't want to wait on this update to see how that all gets ironed out at the legislature, but if it does pass or some other change to that provision, we'll just come back with a quick cleanup of our purchasing policy. But basically what number 5 is saying is if any expenses are going to be assessed, that they have to follow this. They have to be bid out. Any questions before I move on? Yeah, so if we're assessing water main
Like somebody's
extension.
sewer line break or something like that?
We wouldn't assess that. So and there is a law in Nebraska too that you can't, if you've ever previously assessed or basically previously assessed a project, you can't assess it a second time. But if we're extending a water main, a sewer main, a street, paving an alley we've been petitioned to pave, those sorts of things sometimes get assessed. So if it's a project where any of the costs are assessed to citizens, we have to follow different laws.
Okay.
Generally, the state of Nebraska gives us pretty wide latitude on setting our own purchasing policies and having our own spending policies and procedures, but that is the one in state law that we do have to make sure we follow.
So the two quote from three quote differential, two quotes is 1,000 to 5,000 or 1,000 to 25,000?
So here, I'll jump to this.
I was looking at that chart on page 7.
Yes. I added this chart because we get that kind of question a lot from staff that are, if department heads or supervisors are empowering staff to go make purchases or get quotes, we get those sorts of questions a lot. So this chart clearly says what is required for each threshold. So 1 to 5,000 or just under 5,000 is 2 quotes. The 3 quotes is 5,000 or more. And then 75,000 is the formal bidding. $75,000 plus. Unless it's assessed, then it's 30,000.
Tara?
Yeah.
Would any of these numbers in that smaller threshold have to, if they're already in the budget, would you have to
Yes.
submit? Okay, you still have to do that and then.
Yeah, this
then-
is any spending.
Okay,
Even if it's budgeted. Yeah, you still everything has to follow the purchasing policy. That's why you see budgeted items so many times, a lot of times. So it's coming before you at budget time and then again, sometimes even some projects that we're bidding or assessing, we bring forward before we even do that. And then you're also approving it when it's time to sign a contract or an agreement. Let me jump back up here. So, like I said, the purchasing area, the next section 3 is a section we added about emergency purchasing. So, in the event of an emergency, the department heads can spend up to $25,000. They obviously need to let me know, but and then we always have, if there's an emergency, it's very, very rare. I can think of maybe 3 or 4 in the last few years, but we still bring those forward to council. So you're still seeing them. But we'll, in the future, when we do bring them forward after the fact, we'll call special attention to the fact that this was actually, it's completed because it was done because it met the emergency standards. So the next section is just more talking about formal contract procedures. We're writing out basically what we were already doing. It wasn't in the previous purchasing policy as clear as it is now, but we were following this policy, if that makes sense. It's just the dollar limit is now $75,000, unless it's an assessed project. Let's see here. The alternative project delivery, again, this is something we've been doing. It just needed to get added in here. And then the payment approval process, again, we just added this table for clarity purposes for staff and updated the spending thresholds. There is let's see here. sole source comment in here. So basically, that was the other thing I talked about initially. The sole source basically means that if there's, right here, something that, well, I'll just read it. When quotes are required, sole sourcing is only allowed when it pertains to an existing system. So let's say we have like our serious security systems. We already have the backbone of that system. So anytime we're expanding cameras or our security system, we kind of have to use that backbone infrastructure. Otherwise, it's just going to be a nightmare for IT. We're going to have to manage 2 platforms, all the things. It's just much more streamlined to use a platform we already have. That's an example of when we would allow sole sourcing. If there's a system we already have, like JCC is a good example. If we're dispatching on Zerker, and there's an update needed, we obviously have to go with Zerker. So that's the meat of the updates to the purchasing policy. It's not very glamorous, but definitely a necessary policy to have. Ron?
I just have a statement. In section 5, we have design build. Could we add the design bid build in case, if it deemed equitable to do so?
It's basically the same thing. Rick, you agree with that?
It's not the same thing.
Well, design build is
Yeah,
Design
design bid build.
Design bid build.
well, your design bid build is included in this purchase policy already. That's when you go over the threshold of $75,000. Then you have to if it's applicable, like for me, you design it, and then you bid it, and then you build it. So that falls into that category if it's design bid build, or if it's design build, then it's that section 5.
That part I understand, but I'm looking at the larger projects.
Yeah, on a larger project, then it would fall under the over $75,000. So it would be designed and then bid and then build because it's over $75,000.
Yeah, I'm not getting through, but that's all right.
Well, we do that already, and it's in here. It's covered.
Yeah. Okay, such as, take for instance, a baseball field, doing the turf.
Yeah.
That was design bid, right?
Design
Or design build,
Design build.
yeah. Why, that could have been design bid build also, right?
It could have been, but the council chose to go to the design build process.
Okay. Now, do we have the opportunity to do that, to say, okay, we would like to do that?
Yeah, every time a project like that's eligible for design build comes along, it comes to the council first. It's the first thing that comes along, and decisions made whether you want to use design build process or the design bid build process.
Interesting.
You don't recall doing that for the baseball field?
I would like to have it brought out that way then, next time we get a bid.
So the design build has limitations on when it can be done, and that is such things like those parks and projects like that. The council has chosen a long time ago not to use it for water, sanitary sewer, paving, wastewater, things of that nature. So it's a limited time when it's elected that can be used. But each time that it comes up, that design build process is the first step in a resolution, the council approving that use or not.
Okay?
I have a comment, or I guess, or question. So the 10,000 threshold now going to 25 is significant jump. Would it be beneficial to add in the monthly reports that we get for bills paid or whatever, a line item for anything of that nature? I know it's kind of in there, but what we really see, there is not really much of an explanation in there, I guess, of what it's spent on, other than the department.
Like the vendor or
Yeah, like what it was initially for, and maybe so from the vendor. If maybe that was elaborated a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that would be a problem to run that report in BSNA.
Figure something
Yeah. We can easily pull out, spending in a certain amount, so that should be, maybe we'll talk on the side, make sure we understand what you're,
I do. I guess I'm just maybe bringing it up for the better of the group where they can still see and monitor where some of those items are being, or what they're being spent on. You start to see a $24,000 item and there's not much of a detail to it. Then it may save the staff time
sure.
with all the questions that would be asked.
So do you wanna do 5 to 24,999, or do you wanna do 10 to 24,999? What do you, is there a bunch, because if it's 5, you're gonna see a lot.
Right. But, and
It's-
maybe the
Yeah.
10 to 25 would be a good
Okay.
threshold, or 24.99, whatever it is.
Okay.
That way everybody can kind of gauge and see what it's being spent on, and
Okay.
hopefully that would alleviate a lot of questions for the staff.
Sure. Yeah, we'll dive into it and look at what kind of reporting we can pull off of BSNA.
Any other questions? You have anything further, Tara? Entertain a motion?
Move that we recommend the purchasing policies and procedures.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. We can vote by roll call, or by. Okay, that was time. Motion passes, meeting adjourned.